Hey everyone, welcome back. We're going deep today into the world of cybersecurity, specifically in the Philippines.
Okay.
Let's say you're getting ready for a meeting all about international cybersecurity initiatives,
Right.
and you've got this pretty long document from the Philippine Department of Budget and Management.
Okay.
It's about how they buy things for their new Cybersecurity Operations Center,
Uh-huh.
SOC for
Yep.
short.
Gotcha.
And there's a lot to unpack here.
Yeah.
What this document really is an invitation to bid.
Okay.
So it's listing out what companies need to be able to do if they want to provide these cybersecurity services to the Philippine government.
Makes sense.
So we've got some big questions to answer.
Right. Yeah.
Like, what kind of cyber threats are they actually dealing with over there?
Yeah.
What's important to them? Like, what are their priorities when it comes to cybersecurity?
Hmm.
And just how much are they willing to spend to protect themselves online?
Yeah. Big questions.
Big questions.
So, what's really interesting to me about this document is it shows that the Philippines are really serious about this. They want to make their cybersecurity a lot stronger, and they're putting some serious money where their mouth is. They've allocated a pretty big budget, actually, 153 million Philippine pesos
Wow.
for this project, and that's spread out over the next few years.
That is a lot of money.
Right.
So that definitely tells us that they're not playing around.
Nope.
But is that a normal amount for a country like the Philippines to be spending?
That is a great question. And honestly, yeah, it is a significant amount, especially compared to what they've spent on cybersecurity in the past.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so this really does seem like they're shifting their priorities. Probably because cyber attacks are happening more and more, and they're getting more and more sophisticated.
So it's not just like a routine checkup. It's
Yeah.
more like they're responding to a threat that's getting bigger and bigger.
Exactly. And it's not just about the money either. This document has some really strict requirements for companies that want to build this new SOC. Like, they really want to work with the best of the best.
Oh, interesting.
Like, one thing is bidders need at least 5 years of experience in IT security.
No.
And they have to be officially certified partners of the companies that make the security tools that they're going to be using,
Well,
with like a stamp of approval from those companies themselves. So it's not enough to just have the technology. You have to have a history of knowing how to actually use it.
it's like they're putting together a dream team of cybersecurity experts.
Yeah, exactly.
So what kind of skills are we talking about here?
Yeah, what makes these people the best?
Yeah, what makes them stand out?
So each team that bids on this project needs at least 5 cybersecurity professionals. And together, those 5 people need at least 10 specific certifications in cybersecurity. Some of these are really, really hard to get, like the GIAC and the CISSP.
I've heard of those.
Yeah, those are kind of like the gold standard.
The best of the best.
Yeah.
So they're not messing around.
Nope.
So what does that tell us about what the Philippines are worried about?
Right.
What kind of threats are they preparing for?
Well, by wanting people with these top-level certifications, they're basically saying that they're ready for the really tricky attacks, not
Yeah.
just like your everyday malware or phishing emails.
Right.
These certifications cover everything, like penetration testing and incident response,
Okay.
cloud security, advanced threat detection,
God.
the whole 9 yards.
So they're building like a digital fortress
Yeah.
that can withstand basically any attack.
Yeah, they're ready for anything.
Wow.
Okay, so we've talked about the people, but what about the actual technology? Like, what's this SOC actually going to look like?
What are we dealing with here?
So this document is super detailed about the technical stuff,
Okay.
and it makes it sound really, really advanced, like it's always on, always working.
Uh-huh.
For example, they want 24/7 monitoring of everything in the Department of Budget and Management, both their physical servers and their cloud stuff. So that means they need to be watching their networks, their applications, their databases, even cloud services like AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure.
So they're really covering all their bases.
Yeah, they know that attacks can come from anywhere these days.
It's like they're wrapping their whole digital world in a security blanket.
Right.
But there's one thing in the document that really stood out to me.
Yeah.
It says that they need a video wall.
Ooh.
That sounds pretty high tech
Yeah.
and maybe a little bit dramatic.
It does.
So what's that all about?
So it's not just for show, although I'm sure it looks cool. It's actually really important for monitoring threats and responding to incidents in real time.
Oh, okay.
So imagine this. A whole wall of screens showing you key performance indicators, network activity, threat alerts, security feeds, all in one place.
Okay, yeah, I can picture it.
It's like a central command center where the cybersecurity team can see everything that's going on, figure out if anything is weird, and then coordinate a response super fast.
Wow, that sounds kind of intense.
Right?
Like something out of a movie
It does, but it also shows just how seriously the Philippines is taking this threat.
Yeah.
They're not just putting together some basic security system. They're building a state-of-the-art nerve center to protect all their digital stuff.
Okay, so we've got this amazing team, cutting-edge technology, real-time command center.
Yeah,
It's all super impressive.
it is.
But are they missing anything? Is it
Yeah.
all just about the fancy tech?
That's a good question.
Or are they thinking about the human element too?
I think that's what makes this so interesting. They're not just relying on tech here. This document actually emphasizes a much more well-rounded approach.
Okay.
They know that technology isn't a magic solution.
Right.
So they're trying to build a culture of cybersecurity awareness within the Department of Budget and Management itself.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Right.
How are they doing that?
Well, for one thing, they're requiring all employees to go to IT security awareness seminars every year, no matter what their job is. Everyone from the top bosses to the interns,
Wow.
everyone. They'll all be trained on how to spot phishing scams, how to make strong passwords, how to recognize security threats. It's about giving everyone the tools they need to protect themselves.
That's really smart.
Yeah.
Because we see it all the time in the news, right?
Yeah.
Big data breaches because someone made a simple mistake.
Right. Yeah.
So they're trying to strengthen the weakest link,
Exactly.
the human element.
Exactly. And they're not stopping there. They're also giving special incident response training to a smaller group of people within the department. It's like their cybersecurity SWAT team, ready to jump in if something really bad happens.
Okay, so they're ready to defend, but they're also ready to fight back if they need to.
Exactly.
They're not just sitting ducks.
Right. It's a proactive strategy.
They're taking security seriously.
Yeah, they're taking it very seriously.
So they're building this fortress,
Mm.
but they're also training the people inside to defend it.
Right.
But all this training and technology,
Yeah.
it's only as good as the information it's using, right?
Yeah.
So what kind of information is this SOC going to be looking at?
Right. What data are they going to be sifting through? That's where it gets really fascinating. This document lists all the places where the SOC will be getting its data from.
Okay.
It's called the alert log sources.
Uh-huh.
Basically, it shows every single data point that this SOC is going to be watching.
It's like a roadmap for all the information they're going to be analyzing.
Yeah, and it's not just your typical firewall logs or antivirus alerts. We're
Wow.
talking a ton of information from every part of their digital world.
Give me some examples.
Okay, so you've got the basics, of course. Logs from firewalls, intrusion detection systems, antivirus software, all that stuff is constantly spitting out information about possible threats.
Right.
But what's really interesting to me is that they're also including cloud services,
Oh, like what?
like AWS, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure.
So it's not just about what's happening on their own networks.
No, not at all.
They're also thinking about the cloud
Exactly.
because so much of their data is probably stored in the cloud these days.
Right. And they're not ignoring the fact that the cloud has its own security risks.
Yeah, that makes sense.
They're pulling data from those cloud environments, looking for any signs of unauthorized access data breaches or even just settings that aren't configured correctly.
They're not taking any chance.
No, because we hear about cloud security problems all the time these days.
It's like they're realizing that their digital world is way bigger than just their own offices.
Yeah, their perimeter has expanded.
But how can they possibly keep up with all this information? It just sounds like too much.
Well, that's where things get really high tech. They're not just going to have humans trying to read through all this data.
Yeah, it'd be impossible.
They're using advanced analytics, like behavioral analysis and machine learning.
So they're training computers to find the hackers.
Pretty much.
Okay, but how does that actually work?
So with behavioral analysis, you start by figuring out what normal activity looks like on the network,
Okay.
and then the system watches for anything that deviates from that.
So like if someone starts accessing files they've never looked at before,
Exactly.
or if there's a sudden spike in data transfers in the middle of the night.
Yeah, that would raise a red flag. It's like having a digital detective constantly on the lookout for suspicious behavior.
I like that. A digital detective.
But machine learning takes it even further.
Okay, how?
It uses algorithms to analyze mountains of data and find patterns that humans might miss.
Okay.
And the more data it analyzes, the better it gets at spotting the subtle signs of an attack.
So it's learning as it goes.
Yeah, constantly learning.
So for example, it might learn that a certain series of commands or network connections often happens right before a malware infection,
Exactly. It's like teaching the system to think like a hacker.
but on the side of good.
Right, exactly.
But even with all this fancy technology, wouldn't they still need humans involved?
Oh, absolutely. Technology is great, but it can't replace human judgment and expertise. That's why this document also talks about needing a skilled team of cybersecurity professionals. These are the people who are going to be making sense of the alerts, investigating possible threats, and deciding how to respond if something bad does happen.
So it's a partnership between humans and AI.
Yeah, you need both to be successful.
So what happens when the system does find a potential threat? What's the plan?
Well, they've thought about that too. They want to have strong incident response capabilities.
Okay.
That means having plans in place, ways to communicate quickly, and tools that can help them contain a threat as fast as possible.
Like a digital fire drill,
Exactly.
but for cyber attacks. So they're not just waiting around hoping nothing bad happens.
No, they're not.
They're actively planning for the worst case scenario.
Yeah, they're thinking ahead.
But that's all reactive, right?
Yeah.
What are they doing to be more proactive?
That's a great point. They're also emphasizing the importance of threat intelligence.
Okay, I've heard that term, but what does that mean?
So threat intelligence is about gathering information on possible threats.
Oh.
And that information can come from all kinds of places. Cybersecurity research companies, government agencies, even those dark web forums where hackers hang out.
Oh, wow.
By keeping up with the latest malware vulnerabilities and attack techniques, they can patch their systems, block bad traffic, and educate their employees about new threats.
So it's like having spies all over the world, giving them intel on what the bad guys are up to.
Exactly. It's a constant game of cat and mouse.
An arms race, but with knowledge instead of weapons.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
But even with all this, can they really stop every single attack?
That's the thing about cybersecurity. There's no such thing as perfect security.
Right.
But what I like about this document is that it acknowledges that. It emphasizes the importance of constantly getting better.
So they're not just building this SOC and then calling it a day.
Yeah, they want to keep improving.
Yeah.
They're actually requiring quarterly service improvement workshops
Okay.
where they'll assess how they're doing, identify any weaknesses, and adjust to the changing threat landscape.
So they're building in a feedback loop
Exactly.
to make sure they're always learning and getting better.
Right, because in cybersecurity, you can't just stand still.
You got to keep moving.
You have to constantly evolve if you want to stay ahead of the bad guys.
This is all really interesting. But this document is about one specific department in the Philippine government, right?
Yeah, the Department of Budget and Management.
What about the bigger picture? What about the whole country?
Right, what about the Philippines as a whole?
Are they taking cybersecurity as seriously?
Yeah, that's a really good question. It's one thing for one department to really focus on cybersecurity, but what about the whole country?
Right. Is the Philippines taking this seriously on a national level?
Well, this isn't just about this one department. This actually seems to be part of a much bigger plan.
Oh, okay.
In 2022, the Philippines launched its National Cybersecurity Plan 2022,
Okay.
which basically lays out their vision for what they call a secure, resilient, and trusted cyberspace.
Okay, so that sounds like they're taking it seriously.
Yeah.
What does that actually mean?
What are they actually doing?
What are the big pieces of this plan?
So this plan is pretty comprehensive. It covers a whole bunch of different areas,
Yeah.
like protecting critical infrastructure.
So things like power grids and transportation systems.
Exactly. They also want to fight cybercrime, protect data privacy, and work with other countries on cybersecurity.
Okay, so they're really thinking about this from all angles.
Right, they get that cybersecurity is connected to pretty much every part of our lives these days.
Yeah, that makes sense. But are they actually putting resources behind this plan?
Yeah, are they actually investing in it?
Are they putting their money where their mouth is?
Well, one of the main goals of the plan is to make the country's cybersecurity capabilities stronger.
Okay.
And that means investing in both people and technology.
Okay.
They're working on building a national cybersecurity workforce. So basically, training people with the skills to defend against these increasingly sophisticated attacks.
So they're realizing that they need humans in the loop.
Yeah, you can't just rely on technology.
You need people who can actually use it and make smart decisions.
Right, exactly.
But cybersecurity isn't just a national issue, is it?
No, not at all.
I mean, cyber attacks can happen anywhere in the world.
Right, they cross borders all the time.
They can target businesses, governments, individuals.
Yeah, it's a global problem.
So how are they addressing that?
Well, you're absolutely right. Cyber attacks don't care about borders. That's why the National Cybersecurity Plan also talks about working with other countries.
Oh, okay.
The Philippines has been working with other countries and international organizations to share information, best practices, and coordinate responses to cyber threats.
So they're trying to build like a global cybersecurity network, a
Exactly.
united front.
Yeah, because no one country can solve this problem alone.
We all have to work together.
Right.
But all this talk about defense makes me wonder, are they also thinking about what happens if they get attacked? Because no system is perfect, right?
Right. Even with the best defenses, someone might still get through.
So are they prepared for that?
Well, that's where cyber resilience comes in.
Okay, I've heard that term, but what does it actually mean?
It's not just about building walls to keep people out.
Okay.
It's about being able to bounce back quickly if someone does get in.
So it's like having a plan B.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not just trying to avoid getting punched. You're also making sure you can take a hit and keep going.
That's a good way to put it.
So are they doing that?
Yeah, the plan talks about this. They're focusing on things like incident response capabilities and business continuity planning.
So they're thinking about how to minimize damage and get back to normal as quickly as possible.
Right. It's a much more realistic approach.
It's acknowledging that bad things can happen.
And being prepared for them.
So it sounds like the Philippines is taking a pretty well-rounded approach to cybersecurity.
Yeah, they're looking at it from all sides.
But how do they compare to other countries in the region?
Yeah. Are they ahead of the curve or behind? Well, cybersecurity is a big concern for pretty much every country in Southeast Asia.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And a lot of them are stepping up their efforts. But some are definitely further along than others.
Right.
Singapore is often seen as a leader in the region.
Yeah, I've heard that.
They've put a lot of money and resources into cybersecurity infrastructure and expertise.
They're really going all in on that smart nation idea.
Yeah, and cybersecurity is a big part of that.
So where does the Philippines fit in?
I'd say they're somewhere in the middle.
Okay,
They're making good progress, and they seem committed to getting better.
that's good to hear. So what can other organizations learn from all this, whether government agencies or private companies?
What are the takeaways? Well, I think the biggest lesson is that cybersecurity has to be a team effort.
Okay.
It's not just an IT problem, it's a strategic problem.
Right.
And it needs a multifaceted solution. You need to invest in people, technology, and processes.
You can't just focus on one thing.
Right. And you have to create a culture of cybersecurity awareness and collaboration.
So it's not just about buying the newest firewall.
Yeah.
It's about changing the way people think about security
Exactly.
and realizing that it's a constant process.
It's a journey, not a destination.
So you're always learning, adapting, and evolving.
Right, because the threats are constantly changing.
Well, this has been a really fascinating deep dive.
Yeah, it has.
We've learned a lot about how the Philippines is approaching cybersecurity.
And they're clearly taking it very seriously.
They're putting their money where their mouth is.
Right, they're not just talking about it, they're actually doing something.
And that's a good lesson for all of us.
Yeah, whether you're in charge of cybersecurity for a big company or just trying to protect your own data.
Cybersecurity is everyone's responsibility.
Exactly.
The more we know about the threats out there, the better we can protect ourselves. So keep learning, stay vigilant, and remember, knowledge is power.
That's great advice. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, stay safe out there in the digital world.